Hey everybody, welcome to vlog number 23C of Dragon Age Resurgence.
Brought to you by Payne's Practical Products. Woo!
Yeah!
Well, that was a really fun session. How about you guys?
Oh,
Yeah,
that
I
was
had a
really
lot of
fun.
fun.
That was really cool.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
So glad to be able to join you for this this end. You guys are coming to an end. It's so crazy.
I know, right?
Two sessions
Exciting
left.
as well.
I know.
Only 2 sessions left, and
I
it's
can't
done.
believe it. Like, doesn't it just feel like yesterday that we were all auditioning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay! I
Time to
really
go
loved
back and
being
watch
able
from the
to.
beginning.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I really loved being able to see your guys' origin stories.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
fun. That was
Yeah.
cool.
That was really cool of Hark to do that, to give the interviewees origin stories as well. So we got to learn a bit more about
agree.
them. It must have been great for you guys because you actually got to bring to life what you had already written down in your concept. You got to play out the histories that you guys wrote.
Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much better than the little whatever paragraph we all wrote about our backstory. God, it was
Yeah,
so good.
it was.
Was there any part about those played out origin stories that surprised you?
The rock. Yeah, me throwing that rock.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I don't know. I kind of expected Lithia to be a little bit more angry at her grandfather, but it just didn't feel right.
Right.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
Like when we went through Lithia's origin story, I thought like the throwing the rock, I was like, so she had a rebellious streak as a kid.
Oh yeah. She doesn't like smack talk.
You know, I wasn't as surprised about the rock as I was the role. Like, so that you ended up really hurting that kid. 'cause
Oh,
you
yeah,
were
I know.
crazy.
Yeah. You heard me just go, oh, that's gonna sting.
Like, rather than just like a warning rock, you just whacked them straight in the
Whack.
Even she was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
That was funny. Poor kid.
I have to say as well, I loved how Mark you did Samson in the very first part of your
That
origin.
was
Yeah, it was so cute.
Oh,
So
That
cute.
was adorable.
I've been practicing.
You were practicing being a 10-year-old kid?
Oh, I played as a kid before in the past, so I'm trying to retrace my steps, but placing a British accent in there.
Accents can be
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, I was having trouble holding mine.
Mm.
I forget.
You guys did such a good job, though.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, the origin stories it's tough because you guys only have one session.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you try to balance. I wanted to try to put you guys in to meet Halasair and Theobin sooner,
Right.
so that you guys had more time to role play with them. But at the same time, I also wanted to give you guys a chance to tell your story, and for the viewers to get a little bit more insight and more attached to your characters. And the best way I thought that could happen is to actually give you guys your own mini origin stories, so that before you start interacting with the other characters, we have an idea of who you are, really.
Yeah, and I really appreciate how well done it. I mean, your storytelling is very awesome. That was really cool. It was almost like, they have this whole saga for the Resurgence campaign, and then you got these little short stories where you're like, what did they do when they went off on this little adventure? And I don't know, it's just so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted
same here.
when I first had you guys audition, I put you guys as finalists for a reason, because I could see myself playing with any of you. And I found that parts of your backstory really would fit well with the main storyline that I was making. Because Lithia, your thing with like the artifacts and obviously the sphere ties in with what happens at the end. And then, Samson had really, really interesting, cool things going on with his backstory, obviously associated with
Specifically.
Plim,
Yeah,
which I'm going to get to later.
Yeah,
So-
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, so I think you'll end up seeing, as you're watching the other sessions, like 23A and B, that all of the other characters, their characters could have easily been part of this campaign too.
For sure.
And it still would have had some ties with the plot or the main plot. So hopefully that came out. And just so that people know, I cannot take credit for the twist of Samson's father. That was not from me. That was actually something that Mark came up with.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
So well in this session. Like the second Plim started freaking out, I was like, Theo knows exactly what this is like.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was so ironic.
Yes. So that was not a twist that I set up. That was all Mark. And I
Sure.
decided to help him present that twist in the storyline.
That's fun. I
was
like
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
I really liked that interaction between Plim and Samson.
Yeah,
It was
me
really
too.
cool.
I was guessing at first because like when Samson's mom got hit, I'm like whispering to Hannah, going, "I bet she becomes Razakale."
Oh.
Yeah,
That would have been
Me
crazy.
too.
The second
That would
she
be an
had the
interesting
cut
twist.
on her leg, I messaged Rachel the second she had the cut, and I said she's going to die of the taint. That's what's going to happen. And Rachel put back, and then she becomes Razakale. I was like, oh my god.
That would be an interesting twist.
Yes, this
level.
one is good too. This one is
But I
good
think this
too.
one works, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and it joins a lot of stuff from season 1
Sure.
into here. Like things come full circle for Plim. I know that Plim was a favorite NPC for a lot of viewers, and
Yes.
I think that it's really cool to see his story expand even further with this mini session, basically.
Mhm.
Plim is like the coolest guy on Thetis. Like he just
Ah, yeah.
exudes cool.
Yeah, he is very,
Until
very
he finds out that somehow,
Yeah.
some way, he has a son.
Yes, I hope Samson appreciates how cool his dad actually is, even though everybody's kids, the coolness of their parents kind of is blind. They're blinded by it.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be.
Yeah. Samson is in the situation where he's a teenager, so he has a lot more perspective than, say, like as Theo said in session, his daughter doesn't fully understand that her dad couldn't have been there.
Right.
So Samson gets that opportunity to see things from Plim's point of view, which I think will be really useful for them moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can probably see that there is a method to my madness as to why I put certain characters together.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah.
But I hope you don't mind me saying though, Hawk, that obviously we had to do some schedule changes,
We
and
did.
because of that we had to move characters
Yep.
around. So
we did.
is that why you wrote Theo into Samson? Is that why you gave Theo and Samson that connection with the poisons? Was that kind of written in last minute?
Yeah, because I had to make
help
some.
those
Yes, I had to make some last minute adjustments, and I had to actually change some of the story that I originally was going to tell because of who is going to be paired up with who. And yes, that scene was a reaction to the shifting that we had to do. But I think the shift actually ended up working out super well, not just with this session, but all 3 sessions. It ended up working probably even better than I originally planned
Fun
before
stuff.
the shift happened. So
I thought it was
Okay.
really cohesive, and I thought these characters meeting made sense. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
It was fun.
Was there anything in particular that you guys as guest stars were like, did you have any expectations going in, or anything you hoped would happen, or anything like that?
Honestly, everything I was kind of hoping would happen ended up happening in a weird way. I wasn't expecting origin story. That was a fun expectation. As far as like hoping, just like how our characters were woven together in a way that we didn't hate each other and stuff like that was really nice, and that we were able to, work together in a nice way. I liked how Lithia ended up, discovering the artifact. That was a really cool tie. And how, oh my goodness, the whole freaking Samson and Plim thing still gets me.
Were you picking up on
It
it?
was a nice surprise. Yeah, that whole thing
I
there.
should have picked up on it because I remember when he made the character in his audition, he had the quote, that his mom left him with, that Plim, the monster quote.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
ideas.
Funny story about that. Funny story. Apparently someone knew about it ahead of time. And it was thanks to good old Matthew Lang.
Oh, Matthew knew about it ahead of time?
Yeah,
He figured it out?
Well, here's the thing. It was in the comments in my audition video. And he
Oh.
said, like, oh, so is he Plim's son? And I responded to him like, shh, spoilers.
I hope no disrespect, Mark, but as soon as you said the monster comment, I think a lot of people went, Plim's son.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
You spoiled yourself, sir.
But before, no, you had me.
To be perfectly honest, it took me a long time to figure it out too, because I think Mark was trying to get me to figure it out on my own, and it wasn't until he had to give me some really more obvious hints, and I was like, it took me a while to figure that out. So that twist would have gotten me if it was presented to me. I would have not seen it coming.
I made sure to tell you ahead of time, Hark, all right? And just to make sure that there is some confirmation about it, because I wanted that to happen.
Were you expecting for that reveal to happen during the session? Were you expecting that to be a thing?
I was expecting it because I knew it was going to be coming up eventually. Because I've been keeping it under lock and key for quite a long time. A year long. And then all of a sudden...
I didn't even know Plim was going to be here. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Did you think you were going to run... Did you think you were going to actually physically run into Plim?
No, I thought it was going to be another NPC, and I emailed you about that, which was, of course, Connor.
Yeah, you were asking about Connor. I was actually surprised you asked about Connor instead of Plim.
Yeah, because I had a backstory about him and Samson all planned out, and I wanted to give it to you in case that were to happen.
Yeah. I felt that this was more important, and I wanted to limit the number of NPCs I was going to throw into the session because I didn't want to take away from the new characters, as I told Mark. So I only had to pick like one or two NPCs. In this case, it was Owlette and Plim, because Plim was important for Samson's storyline. Owlette was important because there were some loose ends we wanted to tie up with Owlette's backstory. And then, of course, Lithia was important to tie up some loose ends with Violetta's backstory.
Yeah.
I was sad that I couldn't, I was sad that Theo wasn't there when Halaser and the female tree had the conversation about, wanting to have a name. Because Theo would have said LaQuisha. She would have suggested rename her LaQuisha. Because Owlette even said, "Oh, that's a nice name. I like that name." So I wanted to ask Theo, be like, "Well, how about LaQuisha then? You could be." But Theo didn't hear that conversation, so.
I think it was strong. I think it was strongly implied. So the person who said "I like that name" was
it was Owlette.
It wasn't Owlette. It was the female.
I thought it was. Who could have been LaQuisha?
It was the tree that didn't have a name. Mm-hmm. It said that it liked that name. So I was implying that tree was going to end up naming itself LaQuisha.
Okay.
Years later.
That was the implication.
Hear about a tree. Named LaQuisha.
And speaking of which, Hark, you broke my heart.
There was only one part?
Right.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of time to think about Serena, and all of a sudden you decided to kill her off.
Did you see our session one? Do you watch the series?
He's not killing PCs, he's killing NPCs.
I know, but it just... you had to tug at my heart.
Yes. Yeah, it happens when you make NPCs. Unfortunately, I have killed off NPCs even in the first session, even in session
Yes.
one. Um,
At
and
least you didn't get Michonne.
you didn't get
Oh.
Michonne. With Serena, it was important. Serena was important because I did want her to have the chance to establish herself for 2 acts, which she did. But then I wanted to show the effects of the rift and the fade coming into the real world, because it was important for you to see the effects on mages and how they are more easily influenced by this to become possessed and turn into abominations. So that unfortunately ended up being Serena's ultimate purpose at the end, was to give some sort of personal situation with one of the characters that, yeah, stuff in this world is going bad, and it's going really bad soon, and mages need to be aware of themselves when this fade is swallowing the real world.
Okay, now that I think about it, yeah, I think it makes sense. All right, I'll let it slide
The
for now.
Laquisha thing, though, was a nice touch, Hawk. The Laquisha
Yeah,
thing.
Her name still lives
God.
on, even though
Yeah.
that's not really her name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Edward,
I was,
Edmund.
yeah, Edmund. I was like, really, Edmund and LaQuisha, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt really bad when I as a player saw obviously that she died, but Theo, the last time he saw Samson, she was with him, and that would have stuck in his memory, the whole Laquisha thing. So I knew that when Theo saw Samson again, he would ask, even though I know it probably sounded really mean because I'd just seen her die, but Theo didn't. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry that he asked.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, Mark, I killed someone of Lithia's too.
Yeah.
Lithia had someone die. Lithia had a couple people die. So
Understandable. All right.
Yeah, if it makes you feel any better, Mark, he does it to everyone. That should make you feel better.
Yeah, I'll keep note of that.
do we want to count? I mean, let's see.
Oh, no.
We've got,
Oh, please.
No.
we've got Cedric's friend at the beginning. We've got Bostwick. We've got. Let's freaking list them out.
You killed Cedric before it even started the campaign.
I killed Cedric. Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. It was Andrea. But anyway.
Yeah. Fair
I
enough.
can't blame you. I can't blame you for me, technically. I mean, I kind of did that to myself.
Yeah.
But I did try. I did make reference to that in sessions. If worst that can happen, we die. I've been there. It's fine.
You can blame the Pentaviv Guardians for not okaying Resurrection. I mean, we could have helped out. We could have helped you out with that problem.
Heroes never die.
Yeah, but that still leaves up to the question of, if he were able to find out about this resurrection thing, what would be his initial thoughts about it?
Oh.
it was really fun for me, and I'm glad, Hawk, that you put in so much effort into involving these characters into the main story as well. Like you didn't have to. Like
Right.
You could have, as a GM, just kind of made it a quick Easter egg kind of cameo,
Just tack them
and been
on.
like, okay,
Right.
you've seen that person, now back to the main heroes. So
Yes.
the fact that you actually gave these characters
Sure.
a purpose was, I think, that was really cool of you as a GM.
Yeah.
I'll agree.
Honestly, it's really awesome.
And it means that going on, like in future Dragon Age campaigns, it really ups that feeling of you guys will still be in the world. You'll still be doing
You're
stuff.
still in the world.
And the stuff
Yep.
that you did will
And-
still impact.
Yes. And I don't want to make any promises, so I'm not going to promise anything. But depending on how the storyline goes in season 3, if it makes sense for your characters, and by your characters I mean the other finalists, if it makes sense for one of the other characters to appear, then obviously I will invite you to come back to reprise the roles of Lithia or Samson, if it makes sense. And I think, again, as you watch the other sessions, you'll find that there are characters that definitely it does make sense for them to come back, depending on
Right.
what the plot or what the situation is. So I would love for that to happen. I am not against that, but no promises, but I would love to see that.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
that'll work.
Is Samson likely to take up Theo's offer?
He will think about it. I'll just say that, and he'll come back to you later.
What would also be really cool is that if you guys decide to audition for season 3, then, we have already established like Lithia or Samson. They could definitely be the next main characters of season 3, and we would have seen them in season 2. So there's another option there as well.
That would be really cool.
Oh yeah.
It would be interesting to find out what happens with Samson and, him having Plim as a dad, or Lithia. Does she ever, manage to get back the orb or the arrows, and what does she do with the orb or the arrows?
It's a huge advantage because we've already seen some of you guys' story, and we've seen how you guys role play, which was superbly, by the way. Both of you, you did so well role playing. I was really impressed.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. I imagine
Rachel,
like,
I'm curious as to how Hallie found the session.
Oh, well, how Hallie found it is very different. No, I, the player, of course, I had fun. Hallie, one thing that the newer people do not know behind the scenes is that if you let me, I will probably roleplay everyone to death. Just like, and now I just want to have a walk with them over here, and now I just want to talk to them about this over here. So I could have very easily kept you guys all day. So thanks for making sure that we actually can see a little bit of daylight.
I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah,
I was like, I want to talk to Lithia, and I want to and I want to keep talking to I talked to Plim, but I felt like, well, I'm not going to get the chance again. I only have this session to do it. So, anything that Theo would have said to them, I made sure to get role playing done. So
good. And I want to do that. Yes.
Absolutely. Because, you guys, you are part of Hallie's past. So, I really wanted to just keep going.
And I'm glad that we got the arrow. Like, that's, if I had put down on paper, achievements we've got out of this session, as far as the subplots are concerned. We got Alec closer to getting a girlfriend, and we have the arrow.
And we have old Tangerine closer to, I know, right? And we also have old Tangerine a little bit closer to reuniting with his daughter, which I think pretty much touches on all of my good NPC companion quests.
Yes, indeed.
So just to give you guys a little bit of a behind the scenes, when I was first designing this story, I was deciding between having the main storyline. Well, there were 3 things I was deciding on the main storyline being. One was obviously the whole resurrection thing in the Animagi. That was one option. The other option was involving the orb and the big rift in the sky, a la Dragon Age Inquisition. And then the third was a giant main storyline that revolved around the 2 arrows. So I ended up making it up here at the beginning to be predominantly, well, the main plot kind of surrounds the idea of resurrection, but the end result is the orb and the rift. And then I sort of made the arrows like a companion side quest thing instead. Which is not to say that the arrows may or may not end up playing some role in season 3, depending on what happens to them. We'll see, now that they're in the lore.
Okay, old Tangerine, here are the arrows, and this is the airtight box that we're going to keep them in.
Yeah.
There's going to be 5 different types of locks on it. It's going to be magically sealed.
I don't know why I feel like we really should do this, but we should.
I have a feeling that someone might try to put it into another season.
Someone. As again, Theobin looks at the camera.
Oh yeah,
And then,
the fourth wall breaking part, that was interesting.
Well, to be fair, like the only reason that Theo said someone is because he said the Maker has a sense of humor, and Theo doesn't believe in the Maker. But I didn't really want to make that scene about religious differences, so he just said someone has a sense of humor, and you guys took that as GM.
Yeah, just to bring in the irony.
Yeah. But I think I'm interested because I wasn't expecting when we first got the subquest for Violetta and the arrows, I wouldn't have seen Theo being the one to get it back or to give the arrow to her. So I'm actually really curious as to how that scene plays out.
Yeah.
It really
because he and
intrigued
Violetta didn't really
Lithia.
have that much interaction. What was that, Jess?
I was gonna say it just really intrigued Lithia when Theo was like, "We were chosen." Like, people don't just say that thing lightly. I feel. I don't know. It struck her. So,
yeah.
There were a couple times where like, okay, how am I gonna have Hallie break this to them? No, let's not do that.
Yeah.
I feel like Theo was in a situation where he would mince words, and I feel like he's a guy with a lot of cunning. He's a very smart guy, and everything that's happened so far, I think he would put the pieces together and say, yeah, I think we were chosen for this.
He kind of threw it on the table for her, so she was like, all right, he didn't lie to me at all or say anything sideways, so let's just trust him.
I like that about Theo. He's very honest. He's very upfront. There's not really a lot behind the surface that he doesn't communicate. So
yeah,
I quite like that about him.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which is something that we like about Theo.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out. And I think that we'll probably see some stuff in the epilogues about this as well, like the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Definitely, that'll be super cool. I can't wait to see all the other people's sessions.
Yeah,
all the finalists.
Oh, it's been fun. The other two, I'm hoping you guys will appreciate them because I appreciate them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, can I be cheeky and ask which one's your favorite?
Oh,
that one's really hard.
To bring things back around to the beginning when we started, a good legitimate answer for the DM is, you don't know.
I don't know. Which one's my favorite?
Don't lie to me.
I don't know. Well, what I will say is that my favorite reveals.
Okay.
My favorite reveals was from the first one.
Okay.
The first one had my favorite reveals, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Oh. That'll be fun
So
to
I don't have
watch.
to wait long to see all the reveals. That's good.
You don't have to wait long to see my favorite reveals. Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Anything in particular that surprised you in the session, Huck? Having kind of having planned it all out?
I wasn't sure how. So Lithia was my biggest question mark. I felt that between Samson and Lithia, I felt like I knew Samson a little bit better. Lithia, I know her backstory, and I really like her backstory a lot. There were things in Lithia's backstory that I found really good and really fascinating.
Right.
But I think you might know what I'm talking about. There's a big part of her backstory and Rawson's backstory that I didn't say, mostly because I didn't want to take up more time on it just because we had such a limited amount of time.
Right.
And B, because I might want to save that material about Lithia for a future season. Because I think the stuff with her and what her and Rawson did prior to the stuff with Van Herels, to what I'm going to tell you right now, Jess, is that all the stuff that you told me about in the backstory with Rawson and why Rawson knows the things that Rawson knows, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that stuff didn't happen. It very well could have. But just in case, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I understand. It wouldn't have made sense to just like throw it all out there
Throw
or
it all in
anything
there.
like that.
Yeah, because it didn't have anything to do with the current plot. But
Right.
just in case I might want to use that for the future, I wanted to keep that part of your story open-ended and give a chance for your character to play a role in season 3. And that's why I'm saving it, because it was so good and juicy, and I wish I could tell everybody watching. But if it's part of season 3, I can't.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I understand.
I like what you did, and I'm super
cool.
excited to see if that aspect of your character comes.
So what I'm getting from Hawk is audition for season 3. Do it.
Yeah.
Audition for
definitely
season
getting
3.
that vibe.
Oh boy.
Okay. Awesome.
So-
I'm glad you liked it.
If you guys enjoyed what we did here, like just imagine doing it like every other week. That's what
Yes.
it is. So
Had Lithia ended up being in the final roster, I guarantee you that aspect of her backstory would have played a major role in the main plot.
Yeah.
Sure.
So because of that means it's very likely that it could play a big role in the main plot in season 3. So we'll see.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see how the relationship between Samson and Plim blossoms.
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
fun
So if
type
I
of
were to audition for
Walking
season,
is talking lessons. He gets drinking lessons first.
that again.
You should. I'm telling you, do it, Mark.
You could audition again. I'm not telling you not to. In fact, I'm telling you the opposite.
But just bring it back. I love the
telling all the
circularity
finalists,
there.
really.
I love it when things from very early on in the campaign make reappearances. And I put a lot of work into trying to show the differences between old Theo and new Theo. And so I loved the fact that the Plum story was put in there, because that was a big part of Samson's story, but also because it showed how Theo had grown through the campaign, because he'd been there and he was able to be there for Plum when he needed it. I love that.
Yeah.
And I was actually really afraid that Plim would yell at him. I mean, he did kinda, but he just ran off and didn't yell. So I was like, ah!
No, he did the
That's
exact
there.
same. He went through the exact same outburst Theo did, in a kind of what, yeah.
Oh, how ironic.
Yeah, exactly. He did almost exactly the same. If you go back and watch the session where Theo found out, that I was surprised. The responses are almost identical. He storms off. He gets angry, confused, doesn't believe you at first. It was all the exact same.
Well, the only difference is that Plim was drinking.
That just
Theoben was
makes
a
it
dwarf.
better.
Do you think that Theoben really wasn't drinking at some point after that? After
Well, when I saw the
realizing-
session, I don't think he was drinking. I might need to rewatch it, though.
In the middle of the session, he wasn't, but I'm sure he. In fact, he and Hallie drank that night. I remember now. They
Yeah,
drank
they
a count
did.
that night.
Theoben is a dwarf, so anytime Theoben is off camera, you can assume he's drinking.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
So
Actually,
if Plim drops the ball with the entire teaching you how to drink, your Auntie Holly and your Uncle Theo can certainly teach you a thing or two.
Actually,
Oh,
it's funny
God.
that you say that, because I didn't say it because I thought it would break kind of the flow of the session right there. But when Plim said, all right, and like chugged his drink and then went back to Samson, I contemplated saying, okay, so Theo is going to sit where Plim was sitting and he's going to pull out a drink and start drinking.
Yep.
Going to take Plim's place. But I
Right.
thought, no, I'm going to let Plim do his thing now. And like, I thought it would break the flow too much. So I didn't say it, but that's what Theo would have done.
We can assume that's what he did.
Sure.
We know that's what he did.
Okay.
I loved after that long conversation we were having how Theo just all of a sudden, you can just label the potions.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like still thinking about it that whole time.
Yeah. Well, Theo, I tried not to do it too much, but when I first came up with Theo, like, I partly wanted him to be a comedy character, partly. He has a lot of real moments and he's still very serious, but I also wanted to bring some lightheartedness. It's a good thing I did because everyone had really sad backstories, and I've kept that going.
Dad jokes.
So when things are really tense or really serious, I'm always kind of looking for Theo to to break that slightly. And that was one of those instances where Flint clearly got to him and the conversation had just been left, and I was waiting for the right point to show that Theo was thinking about it the whole time.
Yes.
Spot on. That is perfect.
That is good with Yobin, because Halasair is obviously very intense. Cedric's very broody. Andrea can be more, I guess more comic reliefy and light when she wants to be, but she also can be very intense. And then Kenna, obviously she does the whole practical jokes thing, but that's a different type of humor.
Oh. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I got really lucky there in terms of comedic timing as well, that there was just the right lull for Theo to interject with that.
Theo's witty.
Yeah, and including the part where he tries to convince Samson into making poisons.
He turned out fine.
Samson said to him, well, I don't really like being a bounty hunter, and I do it for the money. So his brain was like, all right, well, I'm going to need some help once I pick up on this whole dad thing, and I can pay you. So,
Yeah.
Because the way he sees it is that, yeah, okay, poisons is still connected to that market, but you're not going out and killing people. You're just giving others the tools to. It's an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, like, during the entire story, I was like, if I were in the final roster, I would have think that Samson would improve and figure out that bounty hunting isn't for him. But I'm glad that I was able to establish that with the conversation between him and Theo.
Yeah, and as Theo said kind of at the end, because Theo wasn't expecting when he offered that to Samson that he would then have to deal with Samson's dad going, yeah, I don't really want my son working with poisons. So it's like, fine, okay, do healing potions, God.
Yeah, that's a different change. But then maybe somehow, some way, Theo will secretively teach him how to make poisons. I'm just thinking.
Not if he doesn't want to. I swear to you that his intentions were good when he did that. It wasn't, I can get a little apprentice to help me kill people. It came from a good place based on the concerns that Samson had. And it was also me as a player giving you a chance to be more involved, I think, as well. So
yeah, because I've been quiet a majority of the time. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous going in here. I was like, I don't know what to say, and then all of a sudden, it came out naturally.
Yeah,
good.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. It's a sign that you were comfortable, and I think that's great. I know me and Rachel really wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable.
Yes,
which you guys did a good job on, and I applaud for that.
You guys are really welcoming, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just so nice to finally be able to interact with you guys in this world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
yes.
really
I'm very glad you guys felt comfortable, because I didn't pull any punches today, including your first origin stories. Like, your first origin stories were intense, and I'm happy that you guys were able to slide into it and get into character and feel the emotions that your characters were feeling, because I really wanted right off the bat to throw you in the deep end and say, okay, this stuff is getting real very fast. So hopefully you're ready for it.
Again, I just take that as a sign of a Hawk campaign. Like, all the PCs got that. No, he didn't pull any punches with our session 1 either. So kind of a Hawk.
Oh yeah. I remember.
And if you are auditioning for Pokemon, you can expect the exact same.
Oh no.
Mark is auditioning for Pokemon, so we'll see what happens.
For the advice, Hannah.
We'll see what happens.
Hey, you should go in with your eyes open, dude.
Yep. Yeah. Look on that one. If I make it.
Anything else?
Don't make any lovable NPCs.
Yes.
No,
we're good.
NPCs are not safe in the Pokemon campaign either. They're not safe.
No, they're not safe in any campaign. But it is great story. Like, they always have a good story reason for their death. It's never just, who does this character love? I'm going to kill them.
Right.
Wallowing our pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I had fun.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable experience. It was awesome.
Excellent.